G'day guys, Kaon while touring. The back of the 300 series is like 95% finished. There's a few little bits and pieces that need tidying up, but it's pretty much done. So I thought I'd do a quick video tonight, sort of running through what we've done in the back. This is really the business end of the build. Hey guys, sorry for the quick interruption. As you know, every week at the lead up to the new year, we're picking people at random to give away gear that we use. So this week, we've got a 5-watt UHF from Rockingham. This is the same unit we use, but it's a special edition unit. It's in collaboration with Indigenous artist Daniel Evans in support of his program Walkabout Warriors. So it's a really nice 5-watt UHF from Rockingham. All you got to do to go in the running to win that is be a subscriber of the channel. Look out for the code word somewhere in this video. You'll see it on the screen somewhere. Bang it in the comments section below, and Tiff and I will choose someone at random within the next 7 days. So you've got up until next week's upload, up until next Saturday. We'll pick one of you, get in contact with you, and send you out this very nice UHF radio. Cheers guys, let's get back to the episode. I've got Tiff on the camera behind us. She's our camera lady for tonight. First time using the gimbal, and she's she's struggling a bit. It's already looking heavy in her hands. So if you notice getting lower and lower through the video, you know why. Anyway, so we're going to chat about the draw system done by Black Label Storage Solutions, the full 12-volt lithium battery system done by Offroad Living, and some gear from Kaon as well. All this kind of stuff you can see in the background. All the lights that I've stuck up here are just so you can actually see inside the car. It's not part of the battery build. The only lights is this one here that I'll talk about later. Basically, the idea of this setup was that we'd come away from the canopy, which had like miles and miles of room for all our stuff. The back of the wagon, we knew we were going to have less space. In fact, you'll see that we've pretty much got to fit everything into one drawer. But the idea was that the stage we're at the moment, we're towing a big 21-foot off-road caravan, and we can fit pretty much everything inside that. So there's no need to take 2 entire kitchens away with us. But what we do need is heaps of room for the dog in the back, because we don't want to put the dog between the 2 kid seats anymore like we used to. I want to have room for a swag to throw in the back, so I don't have to stick things on the roof, or again stick things on the back seat, like if Chloe comes away swagging with me. And then just day-to-day real life stuff, like if I've got to run the kids to school or to the shops or whatever, and I've got to throw a pram in the back. I mean, that's what we're doing most of the time. So it needs to be able to do all those things, which meant a bit of a compromise for how much storage we're going to have. And that's why we've gone for like a single level sort of system like this. And then one of the other things that we had to keep in mind was the overall weight. So we've still thrown a fair bit of weight into the back of the car, but when you compare it to what we bolted into the canopy, it's significantly less. And there's a few things that we've done to make it less. So the reason we went with Black Label Storage Solutions was they are based in WA. I'd had quite a few recommendations. I've got a few mates that have run draw systems by Black Label. And John and Taryn, it's a family-owned business. They were just really good to deal with. They were one of the few companies that actually replied to emails and phone calls and stuff like that. It was also a benefit that they're already working with Offroad Living. So you'll see later when I pull the back seats down that they have basically designed this draw system around Offroad Living's batteries, which just made it a really sort of smooth process working with Offroad Living to put a battery system into the back of this setup as well. And then as you can see, they just take pride in their work. It's really neatly finished. It's fairly simple, really, the setup that I got, but it just works really well. These are prefabricated, and they do ship them all over Australia. There's several layouts available for different model vehicles. Even for the 300 series, people were running, you can do a chest fridge. I think you can do an upright fridge. Like I said, I've opted for the single level because I want to really prioritize how much space I've got up there. But even they go as far as offering, I think, a couple of layouts for different size fridges. We went with the Evakool. They also do one for the Angle fridge, which gives you a slightly smaller fridge and a little bit more draw room.
And if you look on Instagram, there's lots of different examples of their work, like with all the different layouts that they do as well. Yeah.
Instagram's probably the best place to see what they do and what sort of vehicles they make kits for. So the construction of the drawers is marine plywood. It's totally wrapped in this vehicle carpet. They've even wrapped inside the drawers, which is really nice. It just means things aren't bouncing around and clanging and stuff while you're driving, which wasn't an issue before in the D-Max because the canopy's not part of the cab. But in the wagon, you definitely notice things. I've already noticed that things are knocking around if I have them loose in the back of this area. So it's nice that they've carpeted inside that. So this is essentially what we got. That is the one drawer that I'm going to have. I'm going to have to put some dividers in there to divide up my gear. And then we've got a table there as well. There's actually, he's quite clever. He's got a magnetic drop down leg there that's adjustable for your height, which I quite like, and that just sort of magnets back up into place. The draw slides are 227 kilo heavy duty draw slides, and they do lock out into position. So we're back with an Evakool draw fridge, Tiff.
Back to where it all began.
Yeah, so 40 litre Evakool fridge. Like I said, could have opted for the 30 litre angle. I do like the 40 litre Evakool because you get the extra 10 litres, obviously, of volume. We're familiar with it. We ran a couple of them in the D-Max for a couple of years and drove all around WA and had no dramas on all those rough corrugated roads and all the rest of it. Also, I like that the buttons and the display are on the outside. I think the angle is the one that has the controls actually inside the tub. So when you're reaching in there or you've got food and stuff or drinks in there, you can actually knock the controls there. And then the other consideration for these draw fridges is just the weight. That's 28 kilos. An upright fridge is similar sort of weight. They're about 26 kilos, but you've got to remember you need more material for an upright fridge, but you do get double the volume. So there's a lot of, there's a dozen ways to skin a cat. Just depends what you want. I think they're all great, whether you go draw fridge, upright fridge, chest fridge. Chest fridges are probably more efficient, but they're just so much heavier. Like a 40 litre angle fridge on a drop slide is like 55 kilos. It's like double the weight of this.
Plus we wanted the flat platform anyway.
Yeah, that was the primary goal. We really wanted that flat platform. So John at Black Label tells me that this setup is about 80 or 90 kilos, and then it's around the $3,000 mark, excluding the fridge. These are a prefabricated kit, and you can get them shrink wrapped on a pallet and sent to you anywhere around Australia, but just factor in sort of $200, $300, $400 worth of freight, depending on where you are. But this was unbolted and brought out and put back in front of me at Offroad Living, and it really is very simple how it goes together. It's fixed down well. It's fixed down on a false floor, and then the draw system mounts on top of that, but it's not hard to get it in and out. I was surprised actually how well it works. John at Black Label can do a full drive-in, drive-out sort of setup. So he can do your full electrical build. He can supply you the fridge. Pretty sure he can even supply you Kaon Gear if you want. He can certainly install everything. And he can even do an electrical fit out with Offroad Living's all-spark batteries or whatever gear you want to run. I wanted to go get my stuff installed by Offroad Living, so I was able to work with John, and he supplied this or installed this for me with these wings blank, so that Offroad Living could. We weren't quite sure what we were going to run yet at the time, so we were able to work that out and make something sort of customized for me.
And how quick was he? You dropped it off Monday morning and 2 hours later it was ready.
Once he's got the vehicle and you're locked in, it's a really quick process. Yeah. But he does have a 2 to 3 month lead time because he's quite popular. Yeah, so Tiff and I are absolutely thrilled with this setup. John and Taryn from Black Label were brilliant to deal with. And yeah, don't have a problem recommending them to any of you guys. If you're anywhere in Australia, have a chat to them, jump on Instagram and have a look what they do. I'm sure there's something that they can make for you. It's really good stuff.
And now, it's just finished really nicely too. I'm very picky about things, but it's just like the edges are so beautifully done, and it just everything. The drawers glide out so easily. It's just really nice.
Yeah, it is. It is. They obviously know what they're doing. They've been doing it a while. Like I said, one of the major reasons I went with Black Label was that they were willing to work in with Offroad Living. So once I'd been supplied this draw system and it was installed, the next thing to do was to ring Offroad Living and book my car in. So I gave them a call.
Yeah, mate, bring it in.
We locked in a date that worked for us both, and then I dropped in to chat about what my needs were, and together we came up with a bit of a plan of attack.
Ah, yeah.
Install day came around pretty quick, and Andy, the very talented auto sparky, otherwise affectionately known as the Wizard, got to work on the 300.
Hey guys, Cam while touring.
So we squeezed 400 amp hour of battery into this car, which is overkill for most people's sort of situation, and it certainly would be overkill for running a light and a fridge and an air compressor and stuff like that. We would have got away with 100 to 200 amp hour for just that sort of stuff.
What did you have in your last car?
I've had 150. I've had 200 at different times, but yeah, never more than 200 in the back of the canopy, and I ran all sorts of stupid stuff.
And what have we got in the van?
We have 240 amp hour at 24 volts, the equivalent of 480 amp hour at 12 volt. Doesn't matter how big your battery bank is in your van. When you're parked in shade or you're parked up for several days in cloudy weather, you'll get a few days and then your battery capacity, your state of charge starts to get low, and there's not much you can do short of moving your caravan out into the sun or running a generator or packing up and leaving early. So that's a problem that we identified fairly early on, and we kind of knew it might be an issue, but rather than stick a bigger battery bank in the caravan, we thought we'll stick a bigger bag of... we'll stick a bigger battery bank in the car, and our plan is to kind of back charge the caravan from the car. And the way that I see that working is the car is almost like it's like a mobile generator. It's like a portable solar panel. I can move this thing into the sun and I can get solar coming in, even though the van was you know, stuck there and wasn't able to get any solar input. I can move the car to get out into the sun. If the van's parked up for 3 or 4 days, we're still in the car every day, driving to the shops to get some food, driving into town, emptying the chemical toilet, picking up some extra fresh water.
Or just visiting attractions.
Yeah, just doing the sights and stuff. So the car's always going to be moving for probably a couple of hours a day, realistically, when we're holidaying. And so why not use that alternator input, recharge the battery bank inside the car, and then I can back charge into the van if the van starts to run low. Day to day, this is never going to run more than 20 or 30% to the depth of discharge, which means this battery bank will last for a long time because it's pretty happy only just sort of dipping into that capacity like that. But the odd time that we're, like I said, off-grid and we've run the batteries down real deep on the caravan, I can hook this thing up via the inverter to the AC charger on the caravan and we can recharge the van. If we're somewhere stinking hot and we want to run the aircon, this thing's going to help run that aircon for another 4, 5, 6 hours longer than we would have normally got out of the van alone. So I don't think we're going to use it all the time, but when we want to use it, it's going to save us from moving spots or you know, taking a generator or anything like that. So it's probably not a setup that's going to suit everyone, but it's something that was a priority for us. So
and you do a lot of trips on your own, but we did sort of build this car with the family in mind, and the big trip we're doing in 2025. So that was a big consideration.
This is the tow rig for the van, for the family trips.
Yeah.
I'm still going to, that's the primary role of this car now, is to be a home car around home, just for dad stuff, and then for towing the caravan. And then probably the third priority down the list is, you know, the solo trips and stuff like that. As much as I love them, I'm just not going to be doing as many of them as those other things that the car needs to be suitable for.
Well, you will be, but I think you don't need, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like,
it doesn't have to be. Yeah, I don't mind roughing it a little bit on a lad's trip swagging.
Well, not that you're roughing it with
the battery system, no. But I am in terms of like how much stuff I can bring now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be bringing everything in the kitchen sink anymore. I've got to prioritize what I pack, and that's okay. I don't mind doing that.
Yeah.
So with a battery bank that big, a lot of you are going to be saying, well, how the hell are you going to recharge the thing? And that is a valid question, because there's no point having a massive battery bank if it takes you 5 days of driving to recharge. So that was one of the things that I worked in with Offroad Living to sort out, and that was something that took a little bit of thinking about to get right. So there's 3 ways for me to recharge this battery bank. Now, the alternator on the Toyota is fairly small. It hasn't got a massive output, and I'm already asking a lot of it because I need it to charge the caravan as well. The caravan's got a big DC-DC charger in it for that battery bank. So I have got a Victron DC-DC charger in here. It's a 30 amp unit, and that means that I can get 30 amp in of current into this battery bank while I'm driving, which is not a hell of a lot. So then the second way that I'm going to get charge in is through solar on the roof. And I haven't got that fitted yet, but we're going to shoot for around 400 watts of solar on the roof of the car. And a lot of DC-DC chargers, you can have a solar input so that you can run both alternator input and solar input through the one DC-DC charger. But the problem with that is they either prioritize whichever one is readily available. Like some of them have like a green priority, so they prioritize solar over alternator, but they'll generally be capped at, say it's a 40 amp charger, it'll only allow 40 amp total from both channels combined. To get the most out of this system, I've run a dedicated separate 30 amp Victron solar controller as well. So I can have 30 amp coming in from the alternator and potentially up to 30 amp coming from the solar panels, so on the roof. So that's 60 amp of charge while I'm driving. Now, you'll see there is actually a third Victron charger in there as well, and that is another 30 amp solar controller. And that one is for this little output here, Tiff. So there's an external Anderson plug there, this yellow one, and that will allow a high voltage panel. It'll handle up to 100 volts and up to 30 amp of charge. So the reason that I've gone with that Victron unit is because Offroad Living have got a really clever high voltage 400 watt portable panel that they've just released, and I haven't got my hands on one yet, but I wanted something that was able to handle that, because that thing's that'll pump in maybe up to 30 amp from one portable panel anyway. That thing's pretty crazy. So potentially while I'm driving, I can have a max of 60 amp of charge coming in, And potentially while I'm parked up, I can have a max of 60 amp of charge coming in as well.
On the note of solar as well, what did you say to me before that you meant to have double your solar to your battery or whatever it was?
Yeah, it's not a strict rule or whatever, but generally the rule of thumb is however many amp hour of battery bank you have, you generally double that for solar. So if you've got a 600 amp battery bank, you have 1200 watts of solar. So for us, we've got roughly 480 amp hour, call it 500 amp hour at 12 volt in the caravan, and we've got 400 here. So roughly 900 amp hour of battery bank. So we'd want around 1800 watts of solar. We've already got 1000 watts on the roof of the van. We're gonna have 400 here, and then I'm gonna have 400 of portable panels. So we'll have about 1800 watts of solar to charge both battery banks in the car and the van. So we're pretty much bang on. We are gonna have that sort of 2-to-1 rule. So that'll work nicely.
So, you know, like you were saying, this setup is not for everyone, and that's the good thing about Offroad Living.
Yeah.
You can just go to them and say, these are my needs, or this is what I have, or the caravan that I have, this is the sort of trips I want to do, and they'll completely customize something just for you.
Yeah, so and even that will even work the other way. So if you went in there and you said, give me the Kaon Wild 300 series build, they would say, yeah, sure, you can spend that much money, or you can sit down with us and we'll work out what you actually need, because not everyone's got the same needs.
Yeah.
And they're not the sort of people that try to upsell you to put you into the most expensive setup. They try to give you the most efficient, cost-effective way to get you what you need. So they are very good like that.
Honestly, they are like just such a good family-owned business. All the guys that work there are just awesome.
Yeah, you were saying
Kathleen.
yeah. You were saying that the other day. We finished up with the full drive show with them, and then I've been up at their workshop filming some stuff, and I showed Tiff some footage, and she's like, "Oh, I miss the guys already. They are a really nice.
They are
really nice crew,
and they're just genuine, and they won't sell you stuff that you don't need.
Yeah.
They're just a hardworking Australian-owned business.
Yeah, and they're all campers and caravanners, and they use their gear, and that's why Jason developed this stuff. The owner of Offroad Living, there was a need for it, and he couldn't find what he wanted, and he couldn't find a decent place to buy it from over here on the west. So he started his own business, and that's why he's so successful.
And they don't just supply on the west; they'll ship Australia-wide.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of their business is just online sales.
Yeah.
So on that note, right, what I'm going to do at the end of this series, because this is probably going to be one of the most expensive parts of this build, what I'm going to do at the end of this series is I'm going to do a quick rundown, like a 10-minute video of something of the entire build, and I'm going to talk about what things cost, how much the build's worth, how much each part of that sort of build phase, what the total cost was. And the reason I'm going to do that is not to be a hero, because if anything, I'm quite embarrassed to talk about how much things cost. But I think it's important that people know what things cost, because it's easy to watch people on YouTube or people on TV, and sometimes they're like $500,000 setup, like car and van. So just so that people know what they're actually looking at.
But you
Does that make sense?
You don't need, like, don't get stuck in the trap thinking that you need the best of the best of the best. Like, you don't need to spend a lot of money to get to the exact same places that we're going to, or anyone is going to.
You don't need all to go camping. You can, like some of the best trips we've ever done have been in dome tents, in, mum and dad's bunkie, old Pajero with an esky. Like, you really do not need all of the flash gear, but if you want it, it's important to know actually what it costs, so you can figure out and you can budget and all the rest of it. So that's why we're going to do that. On that note, because I got onto this because you were talking about how they're an online seller and stuff, Tiff, you can, if you install this stuff yourself, you can really get a lithium battery system from anywhere from around probably $1,500 to get you a battery and a lithium charger, up to, you can drop 20 grand plus probably on a setup. And it really depends what you need and how much you can do yourself and how much you need to outsource and get someone, Autos, Sparkies or whatever to install for you. So it ranges.
And I remember the first time you ever bought lithium was all spark batteries.
Yeah.
And you installed that entire system yourself in the D-Max.
Yeah, the first build on the D-Max. And your dad's caravan, your dad's still running those two batteries. And
I seem to remember you paid maybe like $1,500 for the lithium. You put it all in yourself and it worked well at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It still is. That's in Duffy's car now.
Yeah.
That same battery. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the charging system. That's the battery bank explained. I'll just quickly whip through some of the other stuff they've done. Obviously, like, I run a lot of camera gear and stuff like that. I want to be able to recharge it while I'm doing filming trips and stuff. So heaps of USB ports, quick charge 3, USB-A ports and USB-C ports, quick charge 4 down there as well. So heaps of them. I've got 5 of those, an Anderson plug, and just one SIG plug, because I don't use that too often. In fact, I don't know if I'll use that at all, but it's there if I ever need it. So that's that stuff for charging my gear. On this side, Tiff, with lithium batteries, as pretty much everyone knows now, you can't just look at the voltage to determine the state of charge. If you want to know what percentage your battery's at, you really need to be running all of your loads through a shunt. Something like the Victron BMV712, which is a Bluetooth shunt, so that you can establish what the actual state of charge is by how much current's come out and how much current's coming in through your solar and your alternator, all the rest of it. So I've stuck with Victron gear there as well. I've got a Allspark 2500 pure sine wave inverter hidden down here. And you'll notice I don't have a GPO. I can't actually plug into 240 volts yet, and that's because I can, if I go in through the wing here, you can reach the inverter. So I'll tell you about that later, but there will be a GPO there. Now, there's lots of rooms to hide all this componentry in the wings here. There's also heaps of room inside these quarter panels, and they've managed to squeeze a ARB dual air compressor in there. In fact, I think there's so much room you can even put the air compressor tank in, like the separate air tank, but I haven't got that, just got the dual pump compressor, and then they've run braided line to a chuck here so I can stick my hose straight in there. And that is about it externally for the electrical stuff. You'll notice there's no switch for the air compressor, and that's because all of this stuff is running through a Garmin switch. And what it is it's a solid state switching device. So you use it as a power distribution board. God, I hope I can get this stuff right. If I'm not, I'll put little bits on the screen because it's not really my expertise. Andy's explained it to me, but
and it's not something you've ever run before, is it?
No, it's new to me, and the tech's quite cool actually. It's quite unique. So everything is running through it, and it essentially is the fuse block should anything go wrong. And it also has Bluetooth capability. So I've got an app on my phone. I'll show you on the screen. So this is the app. This is the Garmin Power Switch app, I think it's called. Look at this, Tiff. Tailgate light on, off. Air compressor. So good. Fridge, you can turn it on and off. The USB outlets, the USB, or the cigarette socket, the Anderson plug.
You know, I'm sure I remember you saying to me,
yeah,
why would you want to control things with an app?
You know what got me over the line? That you can run it through the off-road Garmin Overlander, the dedicated GPS. I reckon that's great. And through CarPlay as well.
But if it breaks, then what?
The buttons are right in here. You can I just lift this panel like that, Tiff, and the buttons are right there. That app also works through Apple CarPlay. I haven't showed you this yet, Tiff, but I can bring up Apple CarPlay. When I plug my phone in and I'm driving, I can bring up that app through my Apple CarPlay on my factory multimedia system, and I can switch all these things on and off. So I can switch from the driver's seat as I'm pulling up to air up my tyres. I can hit the button to turn the air compressor on. So by the time I get around here, I just plug in and start pumping up my tyres.
Oh, I just don't really see why you would need to turn all this stuff on and off all the time, except for the compressor.
Yeah, the compressor's the main one. You can run 6 outlets or 6 things off each module. So I've used 6 here, but I could run another, you can add another module to this so you can have like separate pages of stuff that you can flick on and off. So I could have camp lights off the side of the roof rack. I could have underbody lights like rock lights. You can put your spotties and your UHF can be wired through here as well. Pretty much anything electrical that's wired into your car can run through one of these modules. But yeah, 6 outputs each. So you can link, I think up to 4 together, and you just have 4 pages with 6 different switches. It's pretty cool.
Can you check the state of your batteries on this?
No, sorry, because that uses the Victron app. And I was just Googling that today. Victron don't do a CarPlay app yet, which sucks, but I think they're working on it. That would be good when they do, because it'd be nice to have all of that functionality right here.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. Anyway, that's pretty much the battery system from Offroad Living. I've just got to get them to do once the roof rack's up top, we're going to squeeze as much solar on. I reckon we'll get around 400 watts of solar, which will be nice. And I need to pick up that portable panel, and I'll tell you guys about that when I get it, because that's really cool as well.
And you did also, they were going to put some vents.
Oh yeah, they're going to put a vent behind this fridge to blow hot air out. There's a void and there was vents, but we've blocked them up with the batteries. So we're going to cut a vent in the side. Well, there's already a vent cut there, but we need to channel that air through with a fan. So we're going to do that at a later date. And get that GPO there for the inverter.
They were going on about how that light is dimmable. You thought that was cool?
Oh yeah. So it's it does your red as well. Now look, this is the 90 centimeter one, and I was worried that it was going to be, because look, this is how bright it is, right? When you've got it, like around camp or whatever, that's just too bright. So you can, if you hold the button, it dims right down to nothing, and then you hold it again and you can go bright. And you can do the exact same with the amber. Whoops. So obviously the red light, oh, it's red, not amber, I guess, but the red of the light is the less bugs that it attracts apparently. So that's pretty cool. And then you can even do them both and you get a bit of a, am I doing that right? You get a bit of a pink light. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they've got like a party mode too.
All right, that's enough.
Yeah. Anyway. And that's pretty much it from Offroad Living. But look, what I will say is not only are they wonderful people, like just really decent people to deal with, and their gear is really good, but their work is just insane. Like if you see, I mean, you'd have seen inside our caravan when we lift the bed, like underneath there is just nuts. It's the same inside these wings. It's a little bit harder to show you, but the work is just beautiful. Andy's made his own MIDI module or like power distribution board where the cranking battery is there. He's got 5 or 6 MIDIs, a couple of them are spare. Just really neat. He fabricated that himself in-house. I think that's something that they're going to sell. Even the way that he's ran the loom, the cables from under the bonnet to the back of the car, he's fitted all in one bit of conduit and he's ran it along the chassis. And the holes, the factory holes that are along the chassis, he's put riv nuts in there and then P-clamped to the riv nuts. So he hasn't drilled any holes in the chassis or anything like that, but it's just beautiful. It looks like factory the way that everything's fitted. Even the terminals on the batteries, he wanted to use bus bars to connect them. They couldn't be crossing over. So he's opened up the batteries and changed the wiring inside them to flip the terminals around so he can do solid bus bars across them and then insulated them. Like honestly, the work is just insane. And I don't even understand all of it, but what I can understand, I can really appreciate. They do like phenomenal work.
And the cutouts on the back of these drawers were perfect for the Allspark batteries, right? Like
from Black Label.
Yeah.
Yeah, like made to fit those batteries. So it is so snug.
Yeah, everything just works together really nicely, which is why you went with a lot of all these brands because they
work with each other.
Collaborate together.
Yeah, and they work really well. So yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with this. It looks quite unsuspecting from outside. It doesn't look like there's a lot going in, but it is just jam-packed with good gear down both sides and 400 amp hour battery bank in the back. And where all that weight is right over the center of that rear axle. So in terms of like weight distribution, it's really, really good.
And you are going to weigh this when we do the final cost breakdown. We will also do a final weight breakdown with it.
Yeah, so we're not far off.
How much.
This build series thing, it's quite product heavy and not everyone's into that, and I understand that. But that's why I don't want to drag this on forever. But I think this is episode 3 of the build series. There's probably one more episode next week, which is going to be at AGD, getting the bar work and UHF and spotties and awning and roof rack and just those final things all together with Aaron from AGD Auto. And then that's pretty much going to be the end of the build, really, the majority of it anyway. And like Tiff said, I'll do a wrap-up video where we talk about the cost of everything. And then we'll weigh the thing and see what the weights are like. And then from there, we'll decide if we want to put other gear on it.
We didn't want to drag the episodes on too long with the build series. Like, we just want to get them out of the way. And like you said, with things them being very product heavy, it's so hard because we feel like we don't want to push products too much.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if you don't mention it, people ask you where you got things anyway. So, you know, it's hard to strike a balance between what might feel like an advertisement.
Oh, and the reality is
showing
most of the gear we've paid for anyway. Despite what people think, not everyone on YouTube is getting heaps and heaps of free gear. So
no, and you certainly don't get a free car. We paid a lot of money for the car and we pay for the products too. Not all the products, let's be completely open and honest about that.
Yeah.
Some of it is brands we work with that's sponsored gear, but it's certainly not the majority.
No. Anyway, so yeah, that's what's happening next week. Also, you'll notice, and I've lit this up with a couple of lights just so you can see it, because it's dark outside, and then the black interior, it's quite hard to see anything. But
we filmed this at night too on purpose because it shows the drawers a lot nicer.
Yeah, I tried to film it during the day, and what happens is because it's so bright away from the car, the lens just can't handle it, and then it's so dark inside here, you just couldn't see anything. So, yeah, here we are at night filming. But yeah, this stuff's all from Kaon. So Kaon are an Australian company over east, and all of this stuff is actually made in Australia, which I find phenomenal, really. Because a lot of stuff's being sent overseas because obviously it's so much cheaper to get it made. And this would be a product, because it flat packs, they could so easily send it overseas and make it cheaper, but they are quite proud of what they're doing, and they're keeping it in-house in Australia, which I think is awesome. So that's a Kaon side molle panel. That's their overhead shelf, which is adjustable. I'm going to bring it down and back a little bit to get a bit more room. I want to be able to fit the dog in here, so I wasn't sure what sort of height yet. And then that's a soft cargo barrier. I don't know if I'm using the right term though, but it's a cargo barrier. Now, there's a lot of clever things about this, but what I really liked was you don't have to drill any holes. It's very easy to put in and take out. I'm going to take it out again to get the windows tinted in a week's time. But I just wanted to see what it looked like and show you guys. So I'm really happy with that. Yeah, everything. The only thing I had to put fixings into the roof was these top ones here. And even to do that, because there was no threaded holes or anything there, Kaon have made a system that's really, really clever to be able to insert like a threaded captive nut in there. It's just, I've never seen anything like it. It's quite smart. Even that cargo barrier, Tiff, I don't know if you noticed, but it bolts here to a couple of brackets that fit through the headrest. It's really smart.
Also, the shelf's adjustable. Like, it's got different levels, so it can come down.
Yeah, it's going to come down and out a little bit. Kaon there's holes and stuff everywhere, so you can add like quick fists. If you want to add, you can put your shovel or your fire extinguisher or whatever.
Oh.
You can get, they make little shelves that bolt onto these, like little pockets, metal pockets, so you can stuff your, I'm going to put my first aid kit, deflators, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and these are the kinds of things that we need to think of. Like, the idea about this was to contain the dog so he's not like all over the kids while we're driving around, but also extra storage up here, extra storage on there. I can mount shovels, all sorts of stuff. So just making the most of this small amount of space that we've got with this setup.
Also, it doesn't look like a lot of space, but Percy does actually fit there really well, and we'll get him in here in a minute.
Oh yeah, show some footage
and show you some footage of him there.
Oh, good boy.
How's that? Heaps of room.
Lay down.
Lay down.
Lay down.
Lay down.
Sit. Down. Good boy. How's that? We can get another dog.
We could fit two of them in there.
Should we get two? How good. You're going to love that.
You like that?
Oh, he'll be wrapped up here. Because doesn't need to be standing up. He just needs enough room to be able to lay down comfortably.
And he is also crate trained, so he's like well and truly used to being confined.
Oh, I have no doubt he will love it up here.
Yeah.
Probably what we do need to do, and if anyone can think of something, let us know. But we want to put some kind of mat on top of this.
Yes.
When the dog's in, because he drops his coat like crazy, and it will just be matted with hair in no time.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the dog hair is it sticks to carpet. So if we can get some sort of like rubber or
I was thinking
like vinyl or something.
I wanted to put turf, like the fake grass, but you don't like the idea of that.
I think the hair will just stick inside the fibres of it still.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, also, Tiff, can I just say these are cup holders for like the 7-seat models, which is redundant in a 5-seat GX. But the side molle panels actually sit in there, Tiff. That's how they're secured at the bottom. So there's no fixings in the bottom. Oh. It just wedges into the cup holders. It's super clever. All right, I reckon that's it. As you can tell, we're absolutely wrapped with this setup. It's exactly what we envisioned, and it's all come together. And that's because we've gone to people that are passionate about full driving and camping and making cool gear as well. That's what makes the dream work. Happy, Tiff?
Yeah.
Cool. Cheers, guys. We'll see you in next week's episode where we're doing the last bit, bull bars and roof racks and spotties and UHFs and all the rest of it.
And then we're going away.
Oh, and then we're doing a shakedown trip with a van in tow, so that'll be good.
We're not filming that.
Yeah, we are on the way there, I think.
Okay.
I think we're filming some stuff.
All right.
Cheers, guys. See you next week. Thanks, Tiff.
Yeah. Also, he can't jump down.
No, of course not.
Come on.
Come on. Come here. Come, Dad. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. This is the hard bit. Trusting you to come out, eh?
Yeah, I'll get him down. He likes me better. Come on. Come on. Come on. Out you get. Out. Out. Come on.
What were you saying?
Come on. Out you get. Good
Careful.
boy. Good boy. Come on. Out. Out. You can't come down that far. Here, come into my arms. Come on. Let's go. Here. Here.
Oh my God.
Come on.
Oh my God.
No, okay, I can't get him.
All right, I'm going to have to get him.
He's growling. He doesn't want to.
Oh. Come here. Good boy.
Good boy. Come on.
Good boy.
Good boy. That's it.
Oh my
Good job.
God. Simple.
I know I'm lucky, man, but I feel like